Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. And here are our top stories: tax tips for those working from home, and a look at small business resources. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Carrie Hannon. She's author, columnist, and personal finance expert. Carrie, thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Well, good morning. It's so great to be with you again. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely, and happy holidays to you and your family, and those in the audience as well. Carrie, let's jump in, because a lot of us are working remotely, working out of our homes, and that's because of maybe we do that permanently pre-pandemic, but a lot of us are doing that during the pandemic. And as you wrote about recently in a column, I believe, for Next Avenue PBS, there are tax implications and tax things that you need to think about as we go towards the end of the year.
Without question, because, there's two different kinds of workers. There's those who were sent home to work remotely full time for their employer. And there are those of us, like I am, who work for ourselves, and we have a home office. We work from home. So there are two different ways to look at it, but each are things you need to consider for tax implications.
Yeah, absolutely. So give us some of the things we need to be thinking about. I mean, if I have a home office, I'm in my home studio that we built here in the condo, but many people might have an area of their apartment, their house, that is delegated towards their work now. What are some of the things that they need to be thinking about as they're coming towards the year end? And look, they're going to have to fill out tax forms and fill out Quicken or Intuit in April.
Absolutely. So what you need to do, and again, I'm talking right now of people who are freelancers, contractors, you're not a full-time employee. If you have a home office, there are some really great tax deductions available to you. And I highly recommend everyone go to the irs.gov website in order to piece it all together. So you make sure and talk to your accountant. A lot of people are afraid to use this as a deduction because they think it'll trigger an audit. But listen, if you can get in a home office deduction, do it. And what that means is this part of your house that is your quote home office has to be used exclusively for work, right? Your kid can't be watching the TV in that room part of the time or whatever it is. You really need to carve it out, and then you prorate that square footage of the house. The rent or the mortgage, the utilities, all of that, you can prorate as deductible expenses for that square footage of your home. If that's a little too complicated, the IRS has a very simple method they use that you can deduct your office space. And what they say is, I'm just looking at this on my screen so I get it right. It's called the Simplified Rule for Deducting a Home Office, which lets you write off $5 per square foot of your home office. Wow. Up to $1,500, right? So that's a maximum of 300 square feet. So those are two methods you can go about it. And again, if you're working from home, other great things. You can write off your office expenses, like if you buy a new computer, if you're, any of your office furniture perhaps, or types of online services, whatever you might be using to run your office, these are deductible expenses for running a home-based business.
That is really smart, Carrie. And I bet you there are a lot of us who have moved from corporate work to gig work who maybe have left some of those tax benefits on the table. And I have to think, Carrie, I mean, you write a lot about mature Americans and what they can be doing. And I remember you recently wrote a book about getting gig work and finding a job. For those mature Americans out there who are moving into gig work, this is absolutely perfect, right? You work remotely, you start a business, and now you can deduct. You can be profitable, right? You can bring money in, bring income into retirement, and you can deduct some of these things from your taxes.
Without question, and keep good. It's important to really do the paperwork. Don't, really be conscientious and careful about what you're doing. But these are very, very important things to remember. Even if you take classes that are related to your work, you can write off some of the tuition for that. There's all kinds of different things you might think about in terms of how it relates to your home office and your business. And again, these are out there for us, and you should take it. And as you said, Jeff, it is so true. I mean, for older workers, I'm a big believer in, as I wrote about in Great Pajama Jobs, this whole idea of remote work can be really beneficial because you're not judged by, as people judge a book by a cover, but by your productivity and your performance. And that goes a long way to fighting ageism. Just had to get my plug in for that.
Oh, no, and look, I think people should certainly read the book, and I appreciate the plug because part of what we talk about on this network is not just focused on if you're a pre-retiree. We're talking to people who are already retired or people who are near retirement. And look, you can be productive. There are so many tools out there, from technology to reading books and getting classes, to continue to be a productive member of society and productive member of an organization that either you work for or you want to work for, right, Carrie?
Absolutely. And the other thing about taxes, though, so I do want to mention this, is that if you are one of those workers who was sent home and you've started a home office because your employer sent you home, don't think you can write off your home office. That's not going to work in your case. So if you're a full-time employee, the W-2 set, so to speak, you can't really make a case for writing off your home office from your taxes. What you can do is any additional office expenses you've incurred. Maybe you did have to get a special chair or a new desk or whatever it might be. Your employer should reimburse you for those expenses. So keep track of those, but get that reimbursed from your employer, and that is not taxable to you. Those are expenses. So that's something to remember. And also, if you did sort of decamp to work somewhere else when you were sent home by your employer, maybe at a beach house or up in the mountains or with, I don't know who you might have gone to live with, but somewhere where you weren't, you have to keep track of what state taxes you are working in, because if you're working in a different state than where your employer is based, you may have to pay state taxes. So it's very complicated, but talk to your accountant about it and make sure that you're on board with that.
A lot for people to think about, Carrie. This is, 2020 has been a year like no other, and people are going to have to carry that into 2021 as they're thinking about how do we deal with the pandemic and what do we need to file. I'm sure we're going to have you back on again, specifically about taxes in the coming year. Carrie, I want to go to a very quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk to Carrie about small business resources. You're not going to want to miss this, so stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important. You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aids, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with the Give Back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. Look, with the uncertainty of the virus and vaccines, you need to get everything you're entitled to. Here's the bottom line. Call to get significant benefits at no additional cost and see if your zip code has coverage with the Give Back benefit. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-924-3920. That's 1-800-924-3920.
Welcome back. We're talking to Carrie Hannon, author, personal finance expert, and columnist. Carrie, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Well, it's great as always to chat with you about these topics. And you know, this one is a big one. This is really serious, and the pandemic has just devastated so many small businesses. It's heartbreaking. And so it's really important, like in stories like this one I did for the New York Times on resources for small businesses, that we let people know what's out there, what's available, that what are the lifelines that can keep you going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you segued perfectly. This was a great article because, you know, we were still waiting for Congress or the administration to act on a stimulus relief, but we had the Paycheck Protection Program, which I believe is kind of sunsetted. We had Small Business Saturday, which happened this past Saturday, you know, a focus on helping small businesses. But Carrie, as you said, so many small businesses struggling. They had to close. They may have reopened. Maybe they didn't reopen because they didn't have money. And now in certain states and certain cities, they may have to shutter again. What are some of the resources that they can think about tapping into?
Yeah, well, let's just really hope that we get something done in the legislature to get some more funding out there for small businesses. This is really serious because that shut down in August, and so that pipeline has dried up. What you can do, I suggest go to the Small Business Administration website. They have something called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That's a loan. These are not grants. They're up to 6 months of working capital, and there's an interest rate of something like 3.75%. So it's worth looking at. That's one avenue you can go to. I'm just kind of scroll down through my story so I don't miss anything here. You can also look at SCORE, SCORE, which is affiliated with the SBA, right? And it provides a small business resilience hub that has all kinds of financial tools and resources. Really good to check it out to see what you might find there. State and local governments are trying. They've got pockets of grants available. Reach out to your economic development centers in your cities, in your towns, and see what might be available for you there. You know, all across the country, everyone's reaching out. I'm in Washington, D.C., and out in Virginia, there's something called Rebuild Virginia Grant Fund that small businesses can get. The maximum award is $100,000. I mean, that's significant. So look to your states and your cities for things. What else did I want to tell you? There's, oh my gosh, crowdfunding. Believe it or not, there's crowdfunding efforts. So you can look for GoFundMe pages and see if there's ways to get in. But, you know, I really encourage people, don't give up. Keep reaching out. People are there to help you. Even Verizon has a great business comeback coach program, whereas that's not giving you money, but they offer you some one-on-one coaching for free, video conferencing via Blue Jeans for free for a certain period of time. So all of those things are worth checking out.
Absolutely. And look, these small businesses employ almost 50% of Americans, right? I mean, we talked about the gig workers, but these are kind of bigger than those gig working businesses. These are businesses that they're restaurants, they're hair salons, they're all different types of, you know, maybe small IT firms that employ people. They provide benefits, and they provide a very valuable service to perhaps smaller businesses or even larger businesses. So really important to keep this lifeblood of our economy active and engaged.
Absolutely. And so, really just keep pounding the pavement. Look, ask everyone you know, because there are neighborhood grants. There are, grants associated with associations. But what I did find when I went back, I wrote a similar story in June, giving resources for small businesses. Many of the big programs that came splashing out in June to offer grant money to small businesses they've dried up, they've stopped.
Yeah.
So it's a whole new layer that we're hoping we can keep encouraging to come up and not give up, because there is this pandemic exhaustion, truthfully, that's set in.
Yeah, exhaustion in terms of mental exhaustion, but also exhaustion in terms of resources. And credit to these state and local governments, right? Because they've already been under the gun, working around the clock. We have first responders, police, firefighters, emergency personnel, healthcare workers who've been working. A lot of that has drained funding sources. You have taxes. Remember, they delayed taxation or paying taxes for a period of time in a lot of states, as well as federal. So, credit to these administrations for trying to step up and help their local communities. I mean, we are a community-based country, and so you should be tapping into not only federal resources, but really looking online and digging in, trying to think what is available to you.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Carrie, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Stay safe, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thank you.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to, then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.